Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone.
Okay, today I wanted to talk about something that is not extremely prominent in my life necessarily, but something that I do care about, and something that's really going downhill lately that I've noticed. And I want to talk about the arts. Now, when people talk about the arts, they usually tend to really mean a couple of things. One being theater of any sorts, theater, anything to do with on stage. Or they tend to, the actual paintings and, sculptures, that kind of stuff. Though that's really what they tend to refer to when they're talking about the arts, quote unquote. Me personally, when somebody says the arts, sort of just to make them mad, I sort of incorporate everything, because I have a very wide range of things I consider arts. In fact, there are very few things that I don't consider an arts. Cooking is an art, unicycling is an art, being able to juggle and balance a ladder on your chin is an art. Farming is an art, and I think the fact that they reduce it to nothing more than a few talentless escapes that some people use just kind of bugs me. Taste and vision are usually completely absent from a lot of the painting, picture art, and a lot of the sculptures. They really just don't have any brains behind them. It really just is almost a joke how far they go sometimes to create these things. I was watching an interview with Billy Bob Thornton, and I'm not a big Thornton fan, but what he had to say was really funny. He was talking about how he went to an art museum with his girlfriend, and there was like a piece of carpet with some Velcro on it, and he was sitting there thinking like, well, when's the art gonna get here? And she's like, that is the art. And he's just making fun of it, because I mean that's what you get nowadays, what you see. I mean, there's people who will kid themselves and look at it and go, oh, there's vision behind that. But they're just saying that because they want to make up their own laws of what art is. That's what they've been doing. They've been making it up just to make themselves special, I guess. There's no foundation for really what they're making. They don't really have this any teaching or any actual art teaching somebody can do is completely pointless nowadays. I have taken an art class, okay? A college art class. I'm 16. I took a college art class, okay? I wanted to see what these people thought, and it was great. It was interesting because she taught us about real art, what makes real art good. And, with anything creative, you can't always teach it, there's always going to be that one guy who is just a natural genius at it, but it's almost a non-factor with a lot of this stuff anymore, and this doesn't necessarily contribute to the theater. This is more towards the sculpt art and the picture art, because Mr. Nobody, Mr. photographer can get his little camera, flip the black and white filter on, take a picture of a fence, or like a piece of paper stuck to the fence that says like peace. And I guess that's like really powerful, when in realism, he had to flip on the thing, get a piece of paper, use Microsoft Word, type in big words, peace on it, shrivel it up and stuff it in the fence, take a picture, and now I guess he's famous. That doesn't really fly with me. Mr. Sculptor had to get a piece of metal, another piece of metal, and a third piece of metal, and weld them all together and paint it blue, and he can put a little caption on the bottom and it says something really profound, I guess. So he can just paint like a square, like another square inside of it, or like another square, and another tiny square, and that's really good. So it can look cool, sure, but people do that kind of stuff every day, and it is not worth it to sell it for so much money. They sell it for so much money. These people within the art world, they become famous, but notice how they still remain nobodies. Like, back in the day, okay, well, even today, you name somebody like Salvador Dali, people know who you're talking about. You mentioned MC Escher, people know who you're talking about. I mean, obviously, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, people like that. But that's because they actually had vision. They actually cared what they were doing. I mean, duh, I don't have to say anything. It's like, you look at the stuff they did, and, I mean, sure, it's surreal and it's really weird, but at least there's actual, like, you actually look at it and there's stuff to think about afterwards when you're done looking at it. It's not just, next. It's like, oh, I don't know. Why are those clocks melting? It's almost like you can make up a story sometimes. Nowadays, you have to, like, you start seeing what you could have done better on it, I mean, I like to consider myself an artist. I used to draw a lot. I like this kind of stuff. That's why I don't like people just throwing it out and doing whatever they want when it comes to it. I mentioned this before. I have a whole other video about this, but it seems to me that a lot of the real art nowadays is being pushed to the side, and this is still picture art. I'm not gotten to the theater yet. Well, I guess I can incorporate this now. Stuff like comic books. It's not really put in the limelight. That stuff's considered child stuff. But stuff like, standing in the middle of the stage and saying, red, 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 red is really artsy, or something like that. That bugs me. And, really, I think it's funny that the real artists nowadays are moving towards other things. And it's not because, really, the theater and the painting world is dying. It's because they're killing themselves. The real artists are moving on to movies and to comic books, obviously. They're moving into video gaming even. I mean, look, the video games have become so much more artistic over the years. I mean, obviously, technology has enabled it. But visionaries have gotten into it, more visionaries. Originally it was all about game design, because it was so innovative. But now that the innovation is aside, they're able to focus more on making them more artistic. And I think the real artists, they don't want to just stay in that little box of that section of the arts, because it really is picking the wrong people. It has these, like, nobodies who paint one or draw or sculpt one thing or make one performance of something, and they think that they're so deep, but they're not. They just think they know what they're doing. What else here? So the bottom line is, I don't hate this stuff, but there's a lot of things nowadays, and I'm not saying that I'm like, like some 80-year-old man who's like reflecting on the world. I'm just saying it from my point of view, my personal opinion. It's like music nowadays. It's not that it's necessarily so bad. I mean, a lot of it's bad, obviously. But in 10 years, is any of it going to be remembered? Does it have any longevity? And personally, I don't think it does. I really think a lot of it's just going to go away, because I think people's standards have dropped low. The people within the industries, their standards have gone low, real low. And I'd like to think of myself as somebody who can look at a piece of art and actually break it down and say why it's good or not. And I'm usually, I'm just going to say this on my own self-evaluation. I can be pretty good at it sometimes. You may disagree with me, but in my opinion, me myself, I think I'm kind of good at it. So that's that. Again, message me, comments if you let me hear my views on anything else, if you care enough. That's it. Bye-bye. And drink Coca-Cola. It is so freaking delicious. I can never get enough of this stuff. Pepsi bows to it.